What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva and knowledge lady, Mocha. Appreciate y'all still being loyal to the channel, still showing me love. I appreciate all my A1s from day ones. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. I gladly appreciate it. Shout out to everyone. Hope y'all enjoying y'all 4th of July, your 3-day weekend. Please be safe out there. So y'all, I really wanted to get into this. And of course, because there's so much that's entailed into it, I'm going to most likely have to break it up into parts. Because I know if I put too much into one content, I can possibly lose y'all. I have to break it up in parts. Because sometimes, people start, mentally crashing out a little bit. So I'm just going to break it up on parts because it's just way too much going on surrounding this particular case with Diddy. And of course, all of you have been, for those of you who have been following the trial with Diddy and the case surrounding him with all of these charges, this case has ruffled a lot of people's feathers. And not only that, it has really revealed people's true colors. The fact that you had so many men that were so happy and excited that a man who they saw viral video of him beating and kicking on another woman, that got thrown out the door because there's this stagnant of women who are abused. They stay because they want the money, they want the clout, whatever the case may be. So women being abused, that's not something that a lot of people really have compassion for, and I can't just blame the men because you also had a lot of women who disregarded what Cassie went through also with the domestic violence. And y'all know I'm a big advocate for domestic violence. I don't believe in men beating on women, and I don't believe in women beating on men. I actually teach and provide domestic violence classes for women who commit domestic violence against men and men who commit domestic violence against women. Those who have been arrested in court order, they are mandated to take my classes. So I for sure am one that's not just giving an opinion and giving an opinion. I actually certify and I have credentials in this area, right? But this basically, besides all of that, right? This case really brought out a lot of people's true colors. Like I said, you had a lot of men that was caping for Diddy because, you just have some dudes that hate women. Let's just face it. So whenever a woman is being transparent about her abuse or being transparent about how she's being treated in the industry, it pretty much falls on deaf ears. Social media has pretty much ruined that. You have a lot of these, not all guys, but you have a lot of these red pill raging dudes that basically get off on women being embarrassed, humiliated, and mistreated. They're all for, they're very anti-women, especially black women. And they think that a lot of what we do, we bring it upon ourselves. And in some cases, there are some matters in which we do bring it upon ourselves, However, unless you understand the psychology of an abused woman, you'll never really be able to comprehend why she keeps allowing herself to remain in these, toxic conditions, Nevertheless, too, you have some women that are very anti-black men. So they definitely wanted Diddy to go down, not so much because of what he's done, but just the fact that he's a black man. And if the Bitter Sisterhood Committee also loves to see any black man, especially a successful one, love to see him fall from grace. Then you have others who are very mutual, such as myself, look, this man, if he's done all of this, he needs to get some kind of time. Got nothing to do with his success. Got nothing to do with him being a black man. If I saw a white man doing this, he needs to do some kind of time. Somebody got to be made an example, because the problem is the people in this industry think that their money and their success is something they can always hide behind, right? But I also look at it like, hey, some of these women, y'all complied. Y'all had the right to leave. When you were able to leave, you saw some things that was wrong and out of pocket, and you still went along with it. You was part of him recruiting and bringing in these individuals. You participated. You made the phone calls for him. You didn't say anything about it up until now. So, my stance on it is pretty mutual, but for the most part, I felt like Diddy needs to get some time. And as we can see, out of the 5 charges, he did end up getting charged with both. Now, why people keep saying Diddy is not guilty, I'm not understanding that, because he's been found guilty of 2 of the charges out of the 5 now. He didn't get the main ones that was going to smother him. He didn't get the racketeering. He didn't get the RICO. He didn't get the major stuff. But the 2 things that he did get, and I don't feel like going into that because everybody's been talking about it, and I feel like the Diddy charges and all of that is oversaturated. You go to any blogger and get all the details of the case, but I'm not going to repeat all of that. That's just too much, My stance is basically speaking upon the fact that Diddy will never be free. And this is the reason why I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to fight with anybody on this. I'm not going to go back and forth with the bitter sisterhood committee. I'm not going to go back and forth with the red pill raging rock rollers. I'm not about to do that. Truth is, Diddy may have won the battle, but he has not won the war. See, when you're spiritually woke, you realize there's way more than what's at hand. Do y'all not know that Diddy's troubles are just beginning? It's just beginning. I'm not focusing on the case. We know, he was found not guilty on 3 charges, and he was found guilty on 2. Now, 1 or 2 things can happen with that, because the judge has already stated, which is why he was denied bail, that he is a threat to society, that he is dangerous, and he is violent. Because keep in mind, even though he won as far as getting the major charges dismissed or whatever, the problem is he cannot change how the world sees him. He's not going to be able to manipulate that. He can't make us unsee what we have seen. The vision of him beating on Cassie, for some people, it doesn't resonate. They don't care. They got past it. But the thing is, we've seen it. Whether you want to act like you didn't see it, whether you want to act like it didn't mean anything to you, the fact this case opened up so much of Diddy's personal demons that we knew nothing about. Now, listen, when it comes to the industry, money, power, and respect is what matters. Those are the 3 elements, especially when you're somebody in Diddy's level, where you're a multi-million mogul, entrepreneur, all of that. It's not a good look for somebody in his position. Now, if this was an actual average Pookie that nobody really that didn't have the credentials on Diddy level, then it wouldn't matter. But the fact that it is Diddy, it's not a good look as a multi-billionaire music mogul. Part of the industry, like I said, is money, power, respect. The fact that so many people know about him now. Part of power, the biggest element of power is when nobody knows nothing about you. That's what keeps you powerful. When nobody knows your inner demons, nobody knows how you move, nobody knows your personal weaknesses, Nobody knows your undercover demonic sicknesses. When people don't know anything about you, that's how you basically solidify your power. But the problem with this case is it opened Pandora's box. And let's say even if Diddy was let out tomorrow, he will never be seen the same again. His respect is forever tarnished. His brand is forever tarnished. Nobody's not going to sit across the table from him and want to sign a $200,000 deal, knowing how low and how he gets down. Nobody's not going to trust that. Now, if none of this never came to the surface, if this was, let's say if he would have just paid Cassie off and we never would have heard nothing about it, never would have saw that videotape, then he still would have had his same stance. But the fact that people know how you get down with dudes, people know how you beat on women. Listen, Diddy was already losing a lot just based off of accusations before he even got arrested. They all his clothing line, all of that, got his businesses and all started sinking before he even got arrested. JCPenney got rid of his clothing line. He lost a big deal with Diablo, Ciroc, whatever, the big time liquor corporation company, whatever. People already started pulling out on him just off of that tape. He was already losing like a lot of businesses, a lot of all of these like things he had going for him. People was already pulling out. And the fact that that tape got revealed, and I know he felt like that tape would have never came out, because people with money think once they done paid something off that it'll never come out, it'll never be revealed. Diddy did not want nobody knowing that side of him, because Diddy knew how it would tarnish his brand. Why you think when Cassie first put it out there before we saw the tape, he said, I'm not gonna deal with somebody slandering my name, somebody lying on my character, because he knew with the Me Too movement, he knew just the strength of being a black successful man, that if anybody was to even get wind of him having those kind of problems, that it was going to tarnish. So that's why he lied. Way before the tape came out, he said, I'm not going to allow anybody to discredit me, to slander me, because he knew the severity. But the problem was somebody in the higher ups made sure that tape got out there. And some people say it was the feds. Some people said it was, all kind of accusations, right? Please make sure y'all hit that like button. And once that tape came out, it discredited everything, because the fact that he blatantly lied, he had to come back and do a double back. I was in a dark space, and I never should have did what I did. I felt bad then. I felt bad now. I'm even getting help for it. Well, how you claim you getting help for it when the first time you said you didn't even do it? Like, he would have been better off not even saying anything, So this is my thing, right? We can go back and forth talking about the elements. Y'all may agree with the content. You may disagree with the content. You may feel like because I'm a black woman, I don't want to see a black man be successful. I know Pookie all dusty is going to come over here and try to be messy. But my thing is, y'all are not understanding his troubles are far from over. They're just beginning. Money, power, respect. He got the money. But the problem is, the power is not going to be the same as it once was, because everybody know all your skeletons. Everybody know all his demonic deeds. Everybody knows that he likes to have dudes jack off on other dudes and all of this other this demonic sexual fetishes that we knew nothing about. A lot of things should just be kept private. The less people know about you, the less people can use against you. and the less people can look at you differently. This case gave too much exposure of Diddy's personal life, and that's not good for a man or a woman on his level of success. Nobody needs to know you're a woman beater, especially a videotape to prove that. Nobody needs to know that you use bottles and bottles of baby oil. Nobody needs to know that you like freak offs. Nobody needs to know your personal little, fetishes. That's things that should be most things are better off sacred. Especially when you're a multi-millionaire like Diddy. And if y'all think for a second people ain't going to use all of these things against him, you are sadly mistaken. If y'all think Diddy going to get out and live the life he always had, that's done. That has changed. Even Diddy know it has changed. I guarantee you, if they ever do let him out, he's not going to stay here in America because he knows the power and the respect is going to be gone. Okay, like I said, they was already pulling out. He was losing endorsements, sponsorship. He lost the key to the city. That was before. Do you think when he gets out, people are going to, okay, you got 3 of the worst charges dropped. Okay, we feel comfortable with still, supporting your brand and going into business of partnership with you. The Me Too movement, and let's face it, the bleached community, the moment they get a whiff about you, you can forget it. They barely want to give us business to begin with. So they already be looking for a reason to not want to build or go in partnership with us about certain things. I mean, we've seen how ugly it could get. We've seen Tiger Woods lose all type of endorsements because of all of those women who came out, and there was no videotape of him slamming and slapping nobody around, we saw O.J. Simpson, even though there was no video of him unaliving Nicole, nobody trusted that man. Nobody seen him the same. We seen O.J. losing it out here, stealing stuff, and, we just definitely seen him like fall from grace. So I'm not saying Diddy is going to have the same exact fate, but Diddy's life is never going to be the same. Y'all can cape cheer, buy all the Frico to no Rico shirts. You can do all of that. It's not going to change how the world sees him. I'm going to pull up the Bible scripture right quick, y'all, about a man's reputation. Bible scriptures about a man's reputation or a man's name is more valuable than rubies and gold. Now the scripture even says this. The Bible states that a good name or reputation is more valuable than material wealth like rubies and golds. Proverbs 22 verse 1 emphasizes that choosing a good name and favor with others emphasizes that choosing a good name and favor with others is preferable to riches. Okay, a good name is more desirable than good riches. To be esteemed is better than silver and gold. A good name is seen as a lasting asset that is not easily lost or diminished, unlike material possessions. Okay, so in other words, y'all, a good reputation and respect is more valuable than what money can buy. Now, you'll have a few flunkies, you'll have a few flying monkeys that will still try to stay in the good graces of Diddy because they still want access to his money. They still want access to him knowing he's in a vulnerable place. And the fact that they feel like if they still prove their loyalty, that somehow, some way he'll look out for them, that somehow, some way he'll return a favor, when I think Diddy is not going to trust nobody. So many people done turned on him. Jay-Z, Kevin Hart, all of these people who he gave full-time access to the freak offs, and every last one turned their back on him. I mean, if y'all probably didn't hear the recording when he asked his son how was Jay-Z doing, or has he heard from Jay, and his son said Jay-Z ghosted. So Diddy had a whole lot to think about in that dirty, dingy, cubic sized cell. There was no cameras there, no freak offs there, there was no wine, no weed, nothing to take his mind off of anything, nothing to help him deflect. Diddy had a lot of things to think about. Trust and believe. Because when you're out here in the world, and as long as you have access to these demonic devices, you don't think about a lot of things. You have access to all the sex you want, all the drugs you want, all the women you want. You don't think about basic things like who really got my back, who are really my friends out here. And he was able to reflect on all of that. And Diddy is not going to be the same. Listen, let me tell y'all something. This man is used to living in luxury. An 8-bedroom mansion. That cell he's lived in mansions with bathrooms twice that size. I really think it's going to change him mentally, psychologically, and emotionally. I don't think Diddy is really strong. I don't think he's built for this, because for one, Diddy never even thought he would have to experience anything like this. Diddy done been on top for a very long time. And when people who have been on top for a very long time, they really lose a sense of reality. They never prepare themselves for moments like this. Like, when if one day I lose everything? Now, those of us who are used to being in a struggle, we stay in reality because our struggles keep us in reality. But when you been on top for so long, your riches start to make you inhumane. Your riches, your success, all of these things that have made you blinded, that have made you totally oblivious to the struggle. You tend to forget the realism, the reality of how things could change on you on the drop of a dime, because you're so used to your money bailing you out. You so used to having yes men on your team. You so used to having your way. And the thing about it, just face it, Diddy has never had to be held accountable for anything. So this is making him sick to his stomach. Yes, he won the battle, but he still got to fight a whole war. So while y'all out here grabbing baby oil and throwing confetti, you know what I mean, this man's troubles is just beginning. So let's kind of dig into this a little bit, because I want y'all to take this ride with me. Please make sure you hit that like button, because we need to look at some deeper issues here, man. Diddy has his work cut out. It's far from over. He will never be free. Now let's start with the first reason why Diddy's life and legacy will forever be deeply affected and impacted regardless of the legal outcome. First reason is public perception. Even if Diddy walks from legal issues unscathed, the fact that this has been in the public eye means some level of tarnishing will happen. Public figures, especially those as high profile as Diddy, are held to a different standard, and the media's portrayal of him during this time will likely shape people's perception of him for years. The gossip, rumors, and speculation alone will make it difficult for him to fully rebuild the public image he worked so hard to create. Diddy being released from jail is not the same Diddy we saw before this case even was brought to our attention. People are not going to stop talking about it. People are not going to forget about it. His brand, his name is ruined. When I see Diddy, I see a man who beat on a helpless woman. Whether she wanted it or not, that's what I see. I don't see Diddy, the CEO of Bad Boy. I don't see that. I see a freak. I see a little bit of everything. I don't know. Y'all can share in the comment what you see him as. And matter of fact, I would like for y'all to put that in the comment. If you still see Diddy as Diddy, then just say, I still see Diddy as Diddy. If you see him as different, tell me why you see him as different. I would like to get your perspective. But yeah, the public is unforgiving. The public is not going to let him live it down. It's not. I don't care where he goes. People was already shunning from him before he even got arrested, before the feds even took him in. Diddy, I seen Diddy walking around publicly, up and down the beach, and nobody was even asking him for an autograph. Nobody was even wanting to take a picture with him. People already started treating him like a disease, so you could only imagine how they're going to treat him now when he gets out. Next, his reputation with fans and peers. Even if the charges don't stick, there will be a long-lasting questions about his character. In the entertainment industry, especially relationships and reputation can make or break careers. People may question his integrity, and some of his business relationships, especially with artists and collaborators, could change. Even within his own circles, trust can be a fragile thing. Now, if you think about it, even when this case was going on, not one artist who Diddy's career he helped develop, not one came forth and said, oh no, Diddy's a good guy. He's not like that. If he didn't get no support when this case first came about, you know nobody's not going to support him. Shine ain't going to support Mace, Total, no Bad Boy artists. Nobody came forth and said, dude, Diddy's a good dude. He's the reason why I'm the person I am today. He's the reason why, you know, my career flourished. Even Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, everybody who's ever put on, not one person came forth and vouched. So what that tell you? So you know when he get out, right, everybody's going to run from him like roaches. You know, as soon as they turn the lights on, they scattering from him. Next, the impact on his business empire. That's why I say y'all got to stay woke. Y'all so happy. Listen, this man got a whole lot. This a whole new war he got to face, right? Diddy is known for more than just his music career. He's built an empire through his record label, fashion line, liquor brand, and other ventures. If the controversy lingers, it might impact some of those partnerships. Shit, it already has. Investors, sponsors, or collaborators could hesitate to tie their names to his brand, or some might distance themselves altogether. Money and power can shield someone for a while, but public scandal tends to have a ripple effect on everything they touch. Tell me, who's going to want to sign him and do business with him? Who's going to use Diddy? Well, he might could promote the baby oil. Johnson & Johnson might not mind him, you know, being the face of the baby oil product. But think about it. What respectable brand, what respectable business is going to want to go in partnership with Diddy? Name one. Now, like I said, it's going to always be somebody that's going to be greedy. But let me tell you something. Even those who may still do business with him, they'll be smart about it. They'll have it to where they have him invest in the background. But I guarantee you, they not going to want his face up front. I promise you. If they do business with him, it's going to have to be way in the background with nobody knowing but just him and them. But he could never acknowledge or say, hey, I'm in partnership with this person. So if they do business with him, we're not going to know. Okay? Next is the long-term legacy. Legacy-wise, Diddy has made incredible contributions to the music industry, hip-hop culture, and even the business world. But there's a difference between being remembered for your contributions versus being remembered for the controversies surrounding you. If this situation doesn't completely go away, he may be remembered by future generations for both his success and the scandal. Much like how people still associate figures like Michael Jackson with allegations, despite his immense legacy. I mean, absolutely. We've seen O.J. Simpson. We've seen, you know, who was I think Eric Rice. Who was that? athlete that was beating on his wife in the elevator. Just stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's so many examples of celebrities who done fell from grace because of controversy. It's not going to go away. And like I just stated with Michael Jackson, people were still saying the man was a child molester. People would not let up, you know, and Diddy's no exception to the rule. And you got to realize Diddy had a lot of enemies out here. And that definitely showed itself when he got incarcerated and nobody, you know, came to his defense. Not one person, I think one or two flunkies, but it was people that we really don't listen to anyway. People we really don't like, you know. He probably had one or two, you know, but for the most part, nobody ain't really had much to say to that we really respect to defend him, you know. Even Jay-Z, somebody who's kind of respected for now in the industry, he didn't come forth. No, Diddy's cool people. I don't believe this is his character. I believe somebody's out to get him. Everybody backed up because of the controversy. Okay, nobody wants to be tied to it. The emotional impact on a more personal level, dealing with public scrutiny, legal issues, and potential damage to his image can weigh heavily on someone. The pressure might affect his relationships, his mental health, and his outlook on life. At the very least, it could create a sense of isolation for him, as he might find fewer people willing to stand beside him publicly, regardless of the outcome of the case. There's this lesson that I've been doing with my clients called emotional consequence. And basically, that means how consequences affect you emotionally. Diddy is going to have trust issues up the ass. If you think he's going to trust anybody after this, the way people turned on him, listen, this man had a lot of time to sit in that cell and think. He had a lot of time to reflect. He heard a lot of stuff going on. He done heard the people who done had something negative to say. He done noticed the people who didn't come to his defense to say anything. If you think that has not emotionally ruffled him to where he will never see people the same, you sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. He sees how many people turned on him. And the truth is, anybody who stands by him right now, I mean, just an example. If somebody gets a picture of him and Jay-Z having dinner somewhere, they're going to rip Jay-Z a new butthole. So, basically, y'all, it boils down to this, right? Will Diddy be able to bounce back? Will he be able to make that comeback, right? So, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, Diddy is very resilient. No doubt. And if there's anyone who could navigate such a scandal and maintain a degree of success, it's someone who's already shown that they can reinvent themselves time and time again. But that doesn't mean everything will stay the same for him. The scars, whether they're financial, social, or personal, will likely stay with him for years to come. The key for him will be whether or not he can rise above it, rebuild trust, and keep pushing his business empire forward, right? So, my personal opinion, you know, I think it's definitely going to take a toll on his health. I'm sure his health is going to be different. Because you have to realize, Diddy has never been incarcerated before. And incarceration within itself is very traumatizing. And the reason I know this is because a lot of the clients that I have, the men that attend my program, that's been, you know, arrested and had to do a couple of months, maybe a couple of years for domestic violence classes. I'm not talking about habitual offenders that are used to being in and out of the system. But men that are not used to dealing with the system, as far as being incarcerated, as far as, you know, not being able to have their freedom. See, Diddy is not used to that. This man has been accustomed to a lifestyle in which he's always been given a pass on things. He's never had to be held accountable. He's always been able to buy his way out of things. So for him, incarceration is definitely going to traumatize him in some way or another, because going from a 9-10 bedroom mansion to a cell that's probably the size of your average bathroom at your truck stop gas station, that's very traumatizing, because he's never experienced that. And jail just within itself, you know, is traumatizing. Those walls are closing in on you every day. You know, the boredom, the fact that your thoughts are constantly taunting you, because, you know, there's really no one to vent to. There's really no outlet. You know, you can't get on the phone and call someone. You can't jump on social media. I mean, even if you get access to a tablet and stuff like that, but that's a different type of isolation. And trust and believe, I love being alone. I love being by myself. I embrace my isolation. But isolation in the sense of incarceration, not having any access to the outside world, not having any access to just the simple things like your phone, your computer, and stuff like that. All of that for Diddy is definitely killing him. And this is the reason why he was so adamant and needed to speak with the judge, because just being in that jail is killing him. And a lot of the inmates, from what I can remember, told me jail is worse than prison, because at least in prison you get to kind of move around in the general population and stuff like that, but jail is very restricted. Jail is very limited. And even when you have access to general population in jail is more stricter than prison, because it's basically having you to reside there until you transition to your permanent home, which is prison. Prison is a lot more laid back. You kind of have more free will, because that is your permanent residence until you complete all of your years, right? So without a doubt, Diddy's mental is not going to be the same. This man, when he goes back home, he's going to have the shakes in his sleep. Anytime a door closes or slams, it's going to mentally just like distraught him. You know what I'm saying? This is not a man that's prison built. He's not jail built. He's not built for these type of circumstances. So for anyone to think Diddy is free, he's never going to be free, because he's experiencing something that he's never experienced before. And anyone who has dealt with any incarceration, they will tell you incarceration does change you. He's been in there a year, so he's definitely felt a good bit of the trauma that comes with incarceration, right? So that is why him and his lawyers was trying to push for bond, you know, because he is realizing, I'm not built for this. I mean, Shine did 10 years, didn't cry, didn't complain. And this is the reason why, you know, people like Diddy, they find flunkies to do their dirty work, because they don't have the balls, they don't have the strength to even deal with this level of consequences. They can't handle it. You know what I mean? So this is the reason why Diddy has been trying everything up under the sun to try to get this case pushed forward, because he wants to hurry up and either go to prison, or he's hoping that the judge will just hurry up and give him his sentence, whether if it's house arrest or something. But whatever the case is, he wants out of jail. This we know. This man is not used to this type of lifestyle. He's not used to accountability. He ain't used to none of this. Okay? So he's losing it. Every day he's sitting in that jail, even though he's been found not guilty. Y'all are not doing that time with Diddy. Okay? So why y'all out here, you know, doing baby oil, you know, festivities and all of that? This man is suffering. And you got to realize Diddy is in his 50s. You know what I'm saying? He ain't no young... he's not no young dude, you know what I mean? At this age in your life, the last thing you want to deal with is incarceration. You know, the bed is hard, your body, your back can't take you know, the uncomfortability of being in jail. And from what I also heard is that he wasn't even in his actual jail for a couple of days, that they actually had him in a holding cell for multiple hours at a time, which is 20 times worse. Anybody who's ever been in a holding cell can tell you the holding cell hella sucks. It does, because you're at least in the cell you have your bed, even if your bed is made of brick. But that cell, you know, well, in the actual cell, you do get a mattress, a thin mattress, you do get a blanket, you get something. And the holding cell, you don't get access to anything. It's very, very miserable being in a holding cell. And they said he's been in a holding cell very frequently, so I could only imagine how uncomfortable that is, right? So let's talk about the other aspects of why Diddy would never be free, even if he gets posted bond tomorrow. Mental health strain. Even with as much control over the life as Diddy can face significant mental health challenges in such a high stress situation. Imagine the emotional toll of being denied bond after thinking you were going home. Think about that, y'all. Especially when you're used to having everything under your control. This man is used to having his way. He is losing it. It can lead to feelings of hopelessness. Thinking you're close to freedom only to be trapped for longer can wear down anyone's mental fortitude. Listen, I remember just the one night I did in jail. I did one night because I had a suspended license back in 2019, something like that. And I was told I would be out that next day, only to be told that I would have to wait the day after. And when I tell you my spirit was just like shot all the way down, because I was anxious. I was ready to go home. I was not used to that type of life. I was not used to having to share my space with 20, 30 other women. I wasn't used to being told to get up 5 in the morning for child to drink some coffee with no sugar, you know, a cold biscuit and cold eggs. I mean, it was just a miserable thing. So as much as we take home for granted, you really don't understand how important home is until you are locked up in a cell and you have to face the reality of you cannot make these people get you out any sooner than you would like. Not to mention jail, they take their time. I've had experiences of both. I actually had to stay the night in jail, and I actually worked out of jail, in which I was an officer for a couple of years. When I tell you they take their time clearing you, for instance, your lawyer could have called 9 that morning to get you released. The jail still won't release you till 6, 7 o'clock that night. And nothing is more frustrating. I dealt with it with inmates. Hey, my lawyer already told me I'm cleared. I'm supposed to be out of here at 10 o'clock. I mean, I get it, but I cannot speed the process, sir. The jail is going to release you when they feel like releasing you. These jails, they take their time. They don't care. You're just another number. You're no queen. You're no king. You know, I'm sure the day they do decide to release Diddy, if they do, they're going to try to get him up out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. But for the most part, the fact that he was denied bond, thinking he was going to go home after, you know, only being, reaching a verdict of just 2 charges and not the other 3, he really, really had his hopes up thinking he was going to go home, only to find out he isn't, because the judge knows that even though the jurors made that decision, the judge at the end of the day has to make the best protocol. He makes the final decision, which basically is, I cannot let this man out right away. He's a danger to society. He's a threat to the victims. So even though the jurors played a part in it, but at the end of the day, they don't make the final decision as far as if Diddy goes home or not. And I think Diddy has come to terms understanding that, and it's frustrating him. So he's definitely feeling hopelessness. Anxiety and depression, extended uncertainty, combined with the possibility of legal consequences, can lead to significant anxiety. Over time, the mental exhaustion can develop into depression. So Diddy is definitely experiencing depression because he's not used to not having control. You know, he's not used to waiting. He's used to making things happen at the drop of a dime, at the signature of a checkbook. He's used to getting immediate results, and in this case, he's not getting an immediate result. So all of this is mentally draining him. Now, keep in mind, this man is in his 50s. Let me look up how old Diddy is, y'all, right quick. Because the bottom line is, I know he's too old. What he's going through right now, it's definitely going to take a toll on he's 55 years old. So yeah, this is too much. Diddy's not free. Put aside the charges. Put aside, okay, they dismiss the RICO, the racketeering. What about this man's mental stability behind this? You can replace material things. You can replace money, but you can't replace a peace of mind. You can't replace your sanity. You can't replace those things. It's the most meaningful things you need: your health, your peace of mind. That's more important than what's in your bank account. But I know a lot of y'all so money hungry, y'all don't look at it that way. Puff is not thinking about the millions in his account right now. He's not thinking about the Porsche, the Bentley. He's not thinking about that at this second. He's thinking about the simple things that mean you have right now. Your home, in your bed, in your residence. He's realizing right at this moment how important the simple things are in life that money can't buy. Isolation. Being in a hellhole, as you put it, with no clear end in sight, will make anyone feel cut off from the world, even if they have massive support system. Diddy is feeling so alone right now. Why? Because he is alone right now. He's in a space that nobody can fulfill for him. Not his kids, not his fans, not his workers. He is totally feeling the isolation. As the saying goes, it is lonely at the top, and it definitely is, because nobody's in that box with him, you know. This man is used to an entourage. This man is used to having his kids around him. He's used to being in a space in which he's always around people. Do y'all understand the mental deterioration at hand right now? While y'all caping and worrying about, him being free, and everybody hating on him, and everybody wanting to see this successful black man be broken down, y'all are not in that man's shoes to understand he's not going to recover. He's not going to be the same after this. He's not. What else? Let's talk about his physical health, right? Since y'all want to talk about the charges, y'all want to talk about Cassie and drag all the witnesses who only did was what they were subpoenaed to do, because Cassie already had got her money. So it wasn't about the money at that point. It was about the fact she had to respect and obey the law because she was subpoenaed. Everybody's giving the witnesses a hard time, Kid Cudi and everyone, when they were subpoenaed to attend. Let's talk about the physical. Stress impacts the body in profound ways. Sleep issues. With the weight of potential conviction hanging over you, sleep disturbances are almost inevitable. Whether it's trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, this can lead to long-term exhaustion, fatigue. Now, keep in mind, Diddy always stated he was never the kind of person that slept a lot, right? Because he's always been a workaholic, very ambitious, and he's always been very proud and honorary of that. He'll tell you hard work don't come with sleep. So that's different when you're out on the grind and you're in the studio and you're being productive. But being in that jail cell every day like that, it's a different type of exhaustion, because your time is just steady passing you by. While for us out here, time is moving fast. time for Diddy is moving slow. It is moving slow. We don't notice how fast time is until it's time for us to go back to work on a Monday, and then we're like, oh man, my whole weekend done went by. But it's slow for him. He is feeling those 24 hours. Trust and believe. He's feeling it. So in that cell, he's struggling with sleeping or staying awake. You know, his sleep is totally it's totally off balance because there's so much uncertainty, you know. And again, he really cannot keep up with the time because when you're behind those walls, there's not a clock. You know, you could ask an officer what time it is, but no, regardless, even if you're aware of the time, it still mentally takes a toll on you. Appetite and eating habits. Stress can affect appetite, either causing overeating as a coping mechanism or reducing appetite entirely. Both can be damaging in the long run. So with this whole situation on Diddy's shoulders, he's either overeating or he's undereating. In many instances, I've seen guys incarcerated and women incarcerated, and they put on a significant amount of weight because stress and boredom. Okay, unless you use your time and you use the rec yard, you shooting hoops, you being active, you're exercising. And see, in jail, I don't think they have like weights. They don't have that stuff there like they do in prison. They don't have exercise machines and stuff like that like they do in prison. So you're most likely to put on a significant amount of weight. You're overeating because you're bored. When you're in the cell all day like that and you have access to a bunch of snacks, you'll eat. You'll run through those cookies, those honey buns, those pork rinds, whatever they give you, the ramen noodle that you could only eat. When you warm up, you let the hot water in the sink run all the way until you see the steam coming from the faucet, because there's no microwave. That's the only way you can get your ramen noodles to be hot. Little stuff y'all don't think about. This is what Diddy has to deal with. This multi-millionaire man has to eat his ramen noodles through hot water in the sink. If y'all think Diddy gonna be the same after he get out of this, the devil is a lie. This man is really going to mentally, he really going to go through it even getting out, you know. Immune system. Chronic stress weakens the immune system, making someone more susceptible to illness. This is especially true when the mind is constantly racing, thinking about the next move. Let's face it, these jails, they don't give you the best of care. You're in an environment that your body is not used to. So for some people, they get sick more. They, let's face it, they're not always disinfecting these cells. Diddy's not getting room service or a housekeeper to come in there and sanitize things for him, sanitize his bed or whatever. If your roommate is sick, if your cellmate, even if they're next to you in a separate cell or they're across from you in a separate cell, if they're coughing, if they have sicknesses, any communicable diseases, you can catch that stuff. Even officers who don't take the time to really tend to themselves, they come to work sick because a lot of them can't even afford to take days off. And sometimes officers, they bring things in the jail. Like when that COVID thing was going on, a lot of that came from the officers. A lot of people want to blame the inmates, but it came from the officers because the officers were the ones who had access in and out the jail, not the inmates. So his immune system is definitely not going to be the same. I'm going to let y'all know that now, because these jails, they don't stay clean. They don't sanitize them regularly like they should. They just don't. Your heart health. The emotional strain of prolonged legal battles and a compromised sense of control can have direct effect on your heart health. The physical toll of such extreme stress should be underestimated. And it's definitely been taking a toll on the health of his heart. That's why when he found out 3 of those charges got dismissed, he completely got on his knees because he felt his heart sinking in his chest. He got on his knees like, oh Lord, thank you God, thank you Jesus. But that again, that's just one battle. He's still got to fight a whole war. These other 2 charges are still standing, but it's definitely taking an impact on his physical health. The man not graying for nothing. It's not just old age, but it's a lot of stress. That's why Diddy looks like Danny Glover from The Color Purple, because of that health. It's taking a toll on him. Now, not to mention public scrutiny. Knowing that every move he makes is being watched and analyzed likely exacerbates the stress. Yes. Being in the public eye already means dealing with high expectations, but the fear of being judged can lead to higher levels of stress. The longer he stays in custody, the more his situations become the subject of public commentary, which could further impact his mental and emotional well-being. Diddy will never be free. If this man gets out of jail right now and they catch him scratching his behind when he gets out, and paparazzi get a picture of him scratching his behind, first thing they're going to say is, oh, Diddy is scratching himself, so on the behind he must have been doing something that he shouldn't have been doing in jail. You know, if he's anywhere doing anything inappropriate, he can't even buy a bottle of baby oil in peace without paparazzi getting a hold of it and making a whole skeptical of it. That's how bad it is. He will no longer be free because too many people know about him now. Okay, everything's out in the open. So that's egotistical Diddy that we once knew before the case and the incarceration, that was so happy to be seen, happy to be in front of the camera. That same Diddy is not going to exist anymore, because he's going to feel like no one has his best interest. Everybody's looking for him to do something wrong again. So all of this is a new chapter for Diddy. Diddy is not coming out, you know, being that same arrogant, you know, attention seeking person. If anything, he not even gonna want no attention after this. He gonna want people to stay away from him. I mean, he'll deal with the paparazzi as far as still trying to prove a point, like, I'm keeping my head high, I'm gonna see my way through this, I'm glad I'm back with my family, whoop de woo. But after this, he's gonna hate the media, because he's gonna feel like the media played a big part into everybody being able to see his demons and use it against him. So he's not going to feel the same about paparazzi at all, or the public. The realization of losing control. For someone like Diddy, whose life has always been about making power moves and controlling his own destiny, this sudden loss of anonymity must be particularly painful. The realization that he's no longer the one in control, that the decisions are in the hands of the court, the system, and even public opinion, can be deeply unsettling. The loss of power can be a massive blow to someone's identity, and that kind of existential crisis is linked to significant emotional and physical stress. He cannot control what people say about him. He cannot control what people feel about him. He cannot control how people perceive him, and that's hard for a person in power. Even if he goes suing bloggers left and right for saying things that he feels is untrue. Do you know how many bloggers is drag his name through the mud? That's a lot of time and a lot of money. You can't make people unthink what they think. And that's very frustrating for him, because Diddy has always had a lot of power to hide things, to pay people off, to not feel a certain way. He's always had some type of influence on being able to change people's mind. And yeah, you're gonna have a few fly monkey, you gonna have a few baby oil bandits that's gonna ride or die, but for the most part, he's not gonna have no control. Anything he does, if he wants to start a new business, if he wants to start a new partnership, whoever he tries to approach and goes into business ventures and stuff with, he's not going to be able to change how they feel about him because of what has been brought to the attention of the public eye. That's going to be frustrating. You don't want nobody to know, you the king of freak offs. You don't want nobody to know you a woman beater. You don't want nobody to know that you've been paying prostitutes. These hidden demons you pretty much kind of want hidden, you know. And I think all of us to a certain degree got some type of hidden demons that we don't want everybody knowing, until we get a grip on some of the things we're struggling with, until we get on a grip of our struggles, till we find a way to heal from some of these things that we are having a hard time breaking from. We don't need the world being exposed to that, because the moment you do change those things, somebody's going to always be there to remind you. Even if Diddy gets out and gets counseling for sex addiction, people are still going to know him as the bunky baby oil bandit. You know, he's going to always be seen for that. Doesn't matter if he goes counseling, if he goes to church, somebody is going to remind him of being a bunky baby oil bandit. Period, point blank. He cannot change that. That's done. That's how people will forever look at him. The need for support systems. Diddy needs a strong support system now more than ever. He has always been surrounded by people, but it's likely that he'll need to lean into those relationships differently while facing this challenge. The emotional weight of the situation is a lot for anyone, even if they have the financial means or fame to buy someone's comfort. Having close friends, family, or even mental health professionals to help him process this will be critical. We've seen this with other high-profile figures who go through similar experiences. The difference between coming out mentally stable or cracked often depends on the support they receive during the most vulnerable moments. So, reinvention after the storm, right? If Diddy manages to turn things around and reestablish his control over his life, I think his ability to reinvent himself could play a huge role in whether he recovers. People love a comeback story, right? But the road to recovery is rarely linear, right? I really don't think he's going to be able to reinvent himself, because the exposure was so big and so controversy. He has now been exposed to all who did not support him, and all he now knows have been against him. Now he really knows who was for him and who's against him. Exposure is one of the most painful aspects of any public scandal. The harsh reality is that when you're in a high-profile position like Diddy, you don't just face the weight of your own actions, you also face the betrayal of those you thought were on your side. So these are some more things, right, as to why I feel Diddy is still not going to be free. Trust broken with friends and allies. When you realize who truly stood behind you and who was really there for the perks, it cuts deep. I mean, just even on an average person level, when you find out your friend wasn't really your friend, or your family wasn't really your family, you know, betrayal is painful. Some of his closest allies might have been quiet, or worse, distanced themselves from the storm. When it hit, Jay-Z, his main ace boon coon, we see how that went. This could feel like a double blow, not just dealing with legal pressure and public scrutiny, but also the loss of trust in people he might have considered family, both personally and professionally. For someone like Diddy, trust is everything, whether in business, relationships, or in the people who've helped build his empire. When that trust is shattered, it's hard to bounce back. You start to question who is really on my team and who is just looking out for themselves. I don't see none of his friends. Now, while y'all are dragging people who are not supporting Diddy, y'all in the comment section windmilling, y'all mad with the black women, y'all mad with all the victims. Why is no one mad with Jay-Z? Wasn't Jay-Z Diddy's homeboy? The only one that was allowed to call Diddy Sean was Jay-Z. What about the dude who held the umbrella, Farnsworth Bentley? What about all these wonderful artists he helps to produce? Why none of them came through? Why Mary J. Blige? Mary J. Blige is his girl. That's his sister. That's his dog. No one that Diddy has pretty much helped to get notoriety, not one of them jokers came through. You think about how that make him feel. That's why I say he'll never be free. But Jay-Z, the main one, Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart was helping to host the freak-offs. Kevin Hart ain't even come out and defend them. Where's your friends? Friends. How many of us have them? Friends. Where's the friends? If you think that ain't making Diddy feel some type of way, the devil is a lie. Now, talk about reputation damage. The damage to his reputation isn't just about public opinion. It's also about how he views himself, right? After being exposed. People might have their doubts now, and even if he's acquitted or the legal case ends in his favor, the smudge on his name will remain. The smudge, let me say that again. The smudge on his name will remain. It's not going to change. It's like trying to scrub a permanent stain off a white shirt. It never quite looks the same. The fact that he's been exposed in his way might change how people approach him in the future. Even if his career doesn't end here, he'll likely face more skepticism from future collaborators or even the general public. This is a difficult pill to swallow for someone whose image has been central to the career for decades. A good name is everything. If you don't have nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, the main thing you need to have is your word. People got to take your word if they can't take nothing else. People may not take your money. People may not take your signature. But people got to take your word. He's not going to trust anyone, and no one is not going to trust him. Other than, the Diddy defenders. But the Diddy defenders, most who are defending him are people that are irrelevant, that really don't hold no weight. The Diddy defenders, average folks who not in the industry, that's not going to help him. The Diddy fans is not going to help him. He needs people in his circle to keep supporting him. He needs the top dogs. He needs those in the upper echelon. He need that kind of support. Us fans and bloggers, we can congratulate him or hold him up all we want, but our support does not hold the weight of the industry support. He needs people like Clive Davis, Jay-Z. He needs the top dogs that's gonna stand for him, and that's not gonna happen. Feeling alone at the top. Please hit that like button, y'all, because I'm sharing some essential information. There ain't too many other bloggers talking about the after effects of what Diddy is going through right now. If you so far like the content, please hit that like button. I appreciate that. If you agree or disagree, do you agree that Diddy's going to be free after all of this? Press 1. If you think Diddy is still not going to be free after all of this bad controversy surrounding his stained name and his banned brand, press 2. Because I'm going to play the video back and I'm going to see y'all opinion on this. Now, the next thing is feeling alone at the top. A harsh reality of being a whole profile figure is when things go wrong. The loneliness can feel suffocating. We've seen how celebrities spaz out when they go through certain controversial things. We've seen what happened to Whitney Houston. We've seen what happened to Britney Spears. We've seen what happened to O.J. Simpson. We see what happens when bad publicity. Look at Kanye West. The people who surround you when you're thriving may not be the ones who stand by you when you're down. I got my own. Let me give y'all my own little line. The people who surround you when you're thriving are not going to be around you when you're surviving. Hello, let me repeat that again. The people who surround you when you're thriving are not going to be the ones around when you're surviving. Diddy, being so used to having a legion of fans, artists, and business partners by his side, might now have to face the reality that some of those voices may have been more self-serving than he thought. The loss of a strong support system could lead to an overwhelming sense of isolation. It's also the emotional fatigue of knowing that many of the people he thought was on his team might not have been, or worse, may have been quietly cheering for his downfall. Woo! Yes, you find out who was really for you when the grits hit the fan. The feeling of betrayal cuts deeper than anything else, especially for someone who has been likely invested so much emotionally into his relationships. Now, we may not like Diddy, right? But those who have been friends of Diddy, I'm sure Diddy was probably one of those homeboys that, as long as y'all were cooling on good terms, he'd look out for you as much as he can. I mean, truth be granted, Diddy is a Scorpio. I ain't proud to say because I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios are ride or die. We loyal to people that are loyal to us. So I would say this. I'm not a fan of Diddy, but I believe Diddy was the type of dude that would give his shirt off his back. I believe if he genuinely loved you or cared about you, he would look out for you. Now, notice I said genuinely love and care about you, right? Not just, one of his side pieces who he can get to suck them off every now and then. Not people on that level. I'm talking about people who he respected. Like, I'm sure Jay-Z was probably one of those friendships that Diddy valued to the highest common denominator. Like, that's somebody who he would dearly look out for. I believe that. I don't care for Diddy, but I believe he was loyal to people who he respected. Nah, he wasn't loyal to people he did not respect. Okay, so he's definitely feeling the funk of being by himself. Nobody coming to his rescue. Nobody checking on him to see about him. He's allowed to get visitations out the jail. I haven't heard not one person from his entourage go and talk to him. And I'm going to just say alleged because I really don't know. I don't know how many phone calls, how many people checked on him. But I know Jay-Z, for a fact, has absolutely nothing to do with him. And that was his main homeboy. Picture this, all right? It's lonely at the top, baby. The strain of public scrutiny. Even if he wins in the courts, the court of public opinion is much harder to sway. Public figures face a difficult battle when it comes to reputation. Once you've exposed and seen in a negative light, perceptions are hard to change, especially with social media amplifying everything. Those who were on the fence about him before can now view him with suspicion or even disdain. Diddy is used to being adored by millions, but this scandal brings out a much uglier side of fame. People will doubt him, judge him, and publicly dissect his every move. And even if he's exonerated, someone always hold on to the idea of his guilt regardless of the truth. That's a hard burden to carry for anyone. But for someone whose identity is so tied to public approval, it can be suffocating. It really can be suffocating. Now, I'm going to give this last point here because, again, I'm going to have to break this up into parts. The path of moving forward. Can he recover? If you feel like he wouldn't be able to recover emotionally, and that's how I feel, it makes sense. The betrayal, exposure, and public judgment might be too much for him to come back from fully. In many ways, it's a form of personal and professional decay. With every aspect of his life gets affected by the emotional weight of what's happening. However, the question I keep coming back to is, can he ever be happy? Y'all got to look at the mental. Look beneath the surface. Don't look above the surface. The answer could be the pain, and the fallout from the situation may simply reshape him. He may never be the Diddy we knew before this, one with the unshakable aura of confidence and control. But people are resilient, even when it doesn't look like they'll bounce back. The real question is, can he learn to redefine himself without the same degree of power and trust he once had? Let me ask y'all that. Can Diddy redefine himself without the same degree of power and trust he once had? If you believe he can, press 1. If you believe he can't, press 2. If not, then the consequences might be permanent, financially, emotionally, and rationally. What do you think it would take for him to heal from this? Or do y'all feel like the damage is too deep to overcome? Do y'all see any pathway for him to reclaim his sense of self? This is my personal opinion. Power is dead once people know all of your hidden demons. Too many people know and have seen too much about him. The exposure of his hidden demons. This is the harshest realities for anyone in the public eye. Once your hidden demons are exposed, your power, influence, and credibility can evaporate quickly. It's the illusion of invincibility, of respect that they've carefully built is shattered. So, I'm going to do a part 2 on this, where we also talk about the other collateral damage that Diddy is going to face. Outside of his legal troubles, outside of his personal troubles, outside of his mental troubles, outside of his emotional turmoils, there is so much more that's in store. I would not be celebrating and throwing a parade. I would not be doing that just yet. Because, for one, we need to see if he even gets out. And he probably will. Because the world can easily be manipulated by money more than morals. So I won't be surprised if they let him out tomorrow morning. Okay, and my heart definitely goes out to all the victims when they do. Because, baby, Diddy is going to come full force at any and everybody who turned against him. Or, it could be the other way. He may be so scared, now knowing that he got all these enemies, he may stay the hell away from everybody. He may not want to even attempt to even send no goons or nobody out. But I don't trust that. You know, he's definitely a threat, a danger to society, but I'm not the judge. I'm not the law. And, you know, hey, God may see something different in him that we might not. God may feel like he's a changed man and may let him redeem himself again. But I'm going to tell you what's not going to change. What's not going to change is how people see him. His troubles are just beginning. I would not toot my horn for him just yet. I would not, give all his praise and accolades just yet. And do you not realize how slow some people are? You got people around here saying Diddy is free, and they forgot he still got charged for 2 out of those 5 things. There's nothing saying he got acquitted of all charges. You got people that are just that fan strong, that they really want to take that notion and run with it because that's how much they idolize him. And I think God is going to make an example out of him. I really think that God is fed up with so many people with this celebrity worshiping and idolizing that he's going to have to make an example out of everyone just to prove that there's nobody that great, nobody that wonderful to where they can't be brought down. There's nobody so rich to where they can't be broken. There's not somebody so successful to where they can't be blocked of all their blessings. So I think he's going to get a humble awakening, but we got way more to dissect with Diddy being free. So next upload I do, and I'm going to upload this on both channels. I'm going to upload this on my Cafedeparis co-ed channel and my Mocha's Ladies Lounge because I get it. People don't like to cross over, so I'm just going to upload to both channels, right? So this will be on my Mocha's Ladies Lounge. So we're going to talk about the other obstacles Diddy is going to face when and if he gets released. Anyway, y'all, hit that like button. Let me know what y'all think about today's lesson. And are y'all going to be joining me on the part 2? Let me know for sure. Let me know if y'all going to be looking out for the part 2. If you are going to look out for the part 2, put that in the comment section that yes, I'm going to be riding with you to part 2. I definitely want to get y'all intake on this, right? So anyway, it's been a blessing, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday. I will talk with y'all soon. Bye.